Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 155. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Hey, Jay.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry.
All right, man, you had a bit of a busy week, man. Why don't you let everyone know what you've been up to? Your journey started at...
Hola, senor.
Your journey started at what was supposed to be 4:30 in the morning at my house, and instead it ended up being closer to 5 o'clock. You didn't get up till... So I had to take Jay to the airport, Newark Airport, not even Philadelphia Airport. So
yeah.
It's a little bit further away, but still not that crazy of a drive, about an hour. But I have to be at work. So I told Jay, I was like, yeah, why don't you sleep over after recording? You know, we'll wake up early at 4:30. We'll get ready. We'll grab coffee, and then we'll head off to the airport. And he's like, all right, cool. So I wake up 4:30 on the dot, get showered, get dressed, get ready, and like I come out and he's still on the couch, like sleeping. And it's like, you're a grown ass man. I don't need to tell you you have somewhere to be. But I had to wake you up and get you moving.
I don't know what happened. I can't remember if my alarm went off and I just sort of
Your alarm
nodded right back
100% did not go off.
No?
It did not go off.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I think you were relying on me to wake you up. You were just
I don't know.
You were just going to get nostalgic for the high school days when your mom was trying to get you up and get you out of the house.
I don't know. It does happen from time to time with me.
But to your credit, you got ready. We were out of the house by 5:15. So
I was quick. I didn't have to do anything but brush my teeth or something. I don't know. But it was... No, I mean, it was a good drive. No traffic. It was easy. I don't know. I hope you got back and okay.
No, I got back late to work.
All right.
Turnpike was traffic the whole way back.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
A little worried about that, but
no one knows. No one knows when I get to work, really, because I work alone. I really don't have anyone to really check into. It's not like I walk into an office and the supervisor is in their corner office. Like
right.
No one knows. Like as long as I have my phone on, I'm answering stuff. No one knows.
That's a good perk.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a perk, just as long as you don't abuse it. But so anyway, 4 hour flight down to Mexico.
4 hour flight down to Mexico. Plus the 1 hour sitting on the tarmac before we can even take off, and the pilot couldn't even figure out an explanation.
Always.
Like he was like, honestly, everybody, they messed up somewhere in another location in the airport. We're backed up. Don't understand what happened. I'm sorry, And
Sounds like you were flying out of Newark. That's how it works.
Oh boy. So that was a bit of a bummer. But other than that, it was cool, and we actually made up time, and we technically landed on time. So
cool. Winds were with you.
It worked. It worked out.
Now, down in Mexico, were you guys on the Gulf side or on the Pacific side?
Ooh, good question. But whatever side that we were on, we actually got, unfortunately, hit by a current shift from a storm near Brazil, and it washed up all the seaweed onto the shoreline.
So you were on the Gulf side then?
Okay.
Because did the sun set over the ocean?
That's the whole thing. We never went to the ocean because it was a disaster.
Okay.
It was unusable, and it smelled so bad.
Beautiful white sand beaches.
And I saw the potential. I saw the potential of awesome. So apparently everybody today and even a little bit yesterday enjoyed it because they cleared it up, of course, you know, by that time. And, so some people were staying until Tuesday, and some people like me went super early, and, it's all good. There was 80 people at this wedding, lots of people on, Julie's and friends' side, and some family from my mother's side.
Julie is Jay's sister.
Yes. And it was just a lot of fun. And I've always talked about this for a while, but like I never really had a tequila day or a tequila night.
Right.
Like it's occasional tequila shots here and there, maybe something like that. And I actually realized I like tequila.
But instead you were all like,
Tequila is my lady. My lady. Come on in, guys. Come on in. You're welcome. Tequila. From darkness, there is light.
Oh, man. It It was definitely my day drink. It's not quite as satisfying in the evening hours, I would say. However, I do like it in the daytime because it keeps you up on the up and up. It's refreshing. It's smooth.
Tequila in the sun is how the Americans won the Mexican-American War.
And that's really what it was, man. I got baked hardcore with 7 hours straight in the pool on our first full day there.
Yeah, because you're an idiot. It doesn't wear sunscreen.
I did. Just didn't reapply enough. I was swimming too much. I'm sure it just got rinsed right off. And I definitely am paying for it now because I'm peeling like an ugly motherfucker right now. So,
right.
But anything, other than that, it was just great. It was very laid back, very chill. It was just too big of a resort. That was my only knack of the whole trip was we have 80 people, and there's an adult side and a family side and it's the classy resort. So it's not, even for the family side, it's not very kiddie, it's not very childish. You don't feel that way at all.
Right.
It's just so big. Like it was just hard to find everybody and communicate with everybody and like organize everything. So really you just talked it up like, okay, everybody's just going to wing it. And when you see each other, if you're playing something, you can just try and coordinate with some people. But other than that, other than the rehearsal dinner and the wedding, it's a free-for-all.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting a little disappointed because, like, when people go down to Mexico, man, they go down to Mexico, woo! And like,
it was pretty mundane.
I don't know. We went down. We just chilled, man.
I did.
You boys like Mexico? Yeah!
I know some people that went into town. I know some people that went to play like some local golf courses.
When I go to Mexico, like I wanna go wild now, dude. Like I want to come back across the border with at least 10 kilos of cocaine strapped to me somewhere. You have no interest.
Well, a guy did get $100 worth of pot.
Yeah.
In a guacamole dish that he ordered through an employee.
And then he gets in, he's so surprised. He's like,
it's a shitload of pot.
I gave the guy $10. I'm going to need help to smoke all this.
Apparently, it wasn't the best pot.
Well,
but,
of course, it's not the best pot. You paid $7. You got a guacamole.
I mean, I don't smoke particularly, so like, I'm not a fan of it. But I'm
allergic to marijuana, so like I can't. Like
But I would go and hang out with the pot smokers just to get away for a little bit and just kind of whatever, hang out and have a cigarette if I want to.
Hey man.
But anyway, so it was a good time. It was
you
still a very fun time.
No. You'd be a lot cooler if you did. Yeah. Check you later.
But I think it's mostly because I sort of felt like a host in some type of way too, some small measure. I wanted to be there.
This is my family. It's a family wedding. I'm a host.
Yes,
I have to. You're the one that's like.
Besides my sister,
right.
and her husband Brian, I pretty much knew the most amount of people there at the wedding. So like it was one of those parents. Things, but they don't know all of their friends and stuff. I do. I've gone to like the parties and like slept
with half your sister's friends.
Yeah, they're mostly all married with kids and
now.
Wow. But like that's the thing. There's like two parters. Like it's Julie's friends from school.
Did you get like super drunk like at the wedding and just go laid pipe with her, smashed with her, bumped uglies with her? Just got a BJ from that one.
Kept it pretty PG-13. I mean, there was 3 other singles, female.
Were you at the singles table?
We were.
That's the best part about weddings is like to go past the singles table. And be like,
I think, kind of.
Yeah, I was. Nice.
But no, I was friendly with everybody, and my wedding partner, we've been friends for a long time. I actually introduced Julie to her, and it was a good, fun family affair. Went by rather quickly, and today, my God, I was just doing nothing. Just laundry and laying around.
I'm not gonna lie,
body sore. There's no grand story, Dave. There really isn't.
So disappointed.
There really isn't. I mean, there was no other. That was the thing. There was no other. It wasn't that.
Your grand
crazy.
Story is like, I don't know. Storm off Brazil gave us seaweed. Now everyone smells like Fisherman's Wharf.
There was no real singles there that wanted to like bang or anything like that. There was no like attractive. Like,
you have a girlfriend.
On my radar.
You have a girlfriend now. So.
Well. Been dating for a month.
You have, if you refer,
we've never confirmed.
Okay,
but it's pretty much. I mean, it pretty much is.
I think it's time to ask. Like, maybe before you went to Mexico, you should have been like, so, like, if something, am I free? Not free.
I actually I told my girl, I'm like, look, and there's other people there that were like, yeah, are you? I'm like, I've been dating somebody for a good month now, and I played it cool. I was a good boy. I wasn't like completely single J,
Right, you were-
just trying to fuck anything.
You were just like, blowjobs only. I can't have sex with anybody. I'm dating someone. It's getting pretty serious. So over the pants and maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of mouth stuff.
we'll skinny dip and look at each other naked, but that's the extent.
That's the extent. Yeah. We'll cover ourselves up with the disgusting seaweed that washed up on shore.
Yeah.
We'll put 2 crabs and pinch them onto your nipples to keep them covered too. That'll be your booby tassels.
I mean that one day. I mean, it was like the most. If there was a scandalous night, it was with her, the 2 sisters roomed together at this swim up pool room.
Go on.
Full bottle of Kettle One.
Yeah.
And then it was a nightmare the next day because that's tequila all day long. Nighttime switch to bourbon, of course, and then go to their room and start drinking vodka. So that next day hangover, needed a double dose of Blowfish.
Don't you take a break? Like, don't you just like go take a nap, something, cool off, drink water for a while?
That was the miracle. I never needed it. I just didn't need it. I was completely Jones and wilding out. Very
Doesn't sound like you're a wild.
excited, very energetic. Always something to do.
What I did this week was I went to the Phillies game. I got a vest.
Yeah.
They handed out free Phillies vests for all the fathers. It was the Father's Day game.
Nice.
Went there with my family.
Happy Father's Day, Dave, by the way.
Thanks for next week. Yeah. But Phillies will be out of town for 2 weeks, so they had their Father's Day game on Sunday. But my parents were nice enough to buy tickets for everybody, and I'm very appreciative of that. I had a great time. I don't think Lauren really likes baseball too much because I was like, are we going to go to more games? Because we can, baseball tickets aren't aren't expensive. Like we can go to a game. And she's like, and I was like, all right, it's not fun for you. I have fun anytime I go to like a sporting event, even if I'm not into the sport. Like I'm not a big baseball fan, right? I can name like 3 or 4 Phillies, right? I'm not a huge baseball fan.
I would enjoy 2 games a season for all the sports.
Right.
I wouldn't mind going to.
Right.
But other than that, I don't need to go that
Other than like hanging out with my dad and hanging out with my brother and stuff like that, the highlight is finding a Phillies hat with R2-D2 on it, and R2-D2 is projecting the Phillies P on the hat, and then next to R2-D2 it says, "Phillies, you're our only hope." And I was like, buying that hat.
Yeah, well, of course.
Not even a big baseball fan. Buying that hat.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that, like Lauren's like, "Oh, we don't need any souvenirs. You don't even watch baseball." And I was like, "But I watch R2." But I watch Star Wars, and
it's Philly, so
Right.
I have to.
It's Philadelphia, and it's Star Wars, and it's I love these 2 things.
Yeah.
Now these 2 things are together. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Lauren. I'm buying this.
Yeah, I'm buying this. It wasn't a cheap hat. It was like $35. Pretty expensive hat. So gonna have to keep that in good condition. But
And guess what, buddy?
what's that?
It's our boy Thomas Iannucci's birthday.
Is it? Oh,
I know.
Happy birthday, dude.
I just found that out earlier today, but I just did not get around to messaging him or anything like that. So I just wanted to do it on air. So to our boy out in Hawaii, we love you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for everything and happy birthday. Have a good time.
Hopefully you're partying up on the tiny island of Kauai, buddy.
Yes.
So yeah, man, that's it. That's really all I did this week, other than probably the most adorable thing in the entire world. I went to my daughter's preschool graduation.
Oh, I know.
And
saw some photos.
Yeah, I mean, only like 5 kids graduated. Very small, like type of thing. But it was just funny because she got up and she gets like so giddy, like when she's shy. She doesn't clam up, she doesn't freeze up, but like she gets like very fidgety.
Her mannerisms.
Yeah, and like she like puts her hands like over her mouth, and she's like, "My name is Logan," and like she gives her 2 last names. My kid has 2 last names, hyphenated, which is gonna be a nightmare for her. And then she's like, "I'm 5 years old. I'm graduating preschool and I want to be a doctor." And then she goes and sits down, and I was like, "Yay, Daddy's gonna be poor forever." Because he's got to pay for you to be a doctor. You better be like a good doctor too, and not like one of those like night school chiropractors. Because I'm gonna need you to take care of me when I get older.
Yeah, well, it could be worse.
Yeah, but it was It was nice. You know, we didn't get a chance to stay long. Unfortunately, I had to take the day off of work to go out there, and it was a very short ceremony and stuff like that. And then her mom had things planned for her and stuff. So we ended up coming back and putting up our ghetto pool, man. The inflatable ghetto pool.
I can't wait to get in.
It's back.
Believe me, we're probably going to be going back into it before or after our recordings later on during the summertime.
Once it starts getting hotter, we'll be going doing some late night swimming sessions.
We've done that before.
Clothes on, sir. Clothes on. All right, man, let's get into what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
All right, Jay, so what have you been up to? What have you been watching this week, man? What'd you get down to seeing? I know you were busy, so you may not have gotten to see a
this
whole
was
lot.
actually the previous week, and I saw some things I wasn't able to mention before, but I'll briefly get into it. I finally saw Crazy Rich Asians, and, it was one of those films that I know some people thought it was like, okay, it was great, blah, 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 this and that. Some people were like, it's just a typical rom-com.
It's a very typical rom-com with that cultural background.
Sure.
And that's very much what my Big Fat Greek Wedding was.
But the week
10 years,
prior, my
ago.
mother called it. My mother called it, and she was fucking dying, and she loved it. And she was like watching it in pieces from the middle, from the first start, the back car, and like she's not one of those like start to finish type watchers, so she was piecing together the movie.
It's a very digestible movie,
and it is. So I finally caught around to seeing it, and it's enjoyable. It's a feast for the eyes. I thought the acting was pretty well done, and it is a very paint by numbers typical rom-com.
Yeah, and that wedding is fucking ridiculous. When they flood the walkway for the bride to come down, when they flood the aisle, and she starts walking down, and like there's like floating lotuses and shit, and I'm like, the fuck out of here! I fucking hate you, and you disgust me with your money. The fuck!
I can't help but get that feeling too.
I had my wedding in the back of an Italian restaurant. Bottle of red, bottle of white.
Yours was beautiful. Stop. And
it all depends upon your appetite.
True.
I'll meet you anytime you want. Our Italian restaurant. Anyway, it's a very musical episode for me. It's probably because I'll talk about the film I watched. So anyway,
yeah, I wonder why. But I enjoyed it. I did. I really did. It was fun. And also, I finally caught to see Amy, the documentary Amy. All about Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
So it was a documentary that I've heard about.
They try to take me back to rehab. I won't go.
Yep.
Yeah, that movie. Yeah, I remember that lady. I wasn't crazy about her music and stuff, but
wasn't 100% crazy about it.
She had some.
It was spotty.
She had some.
There's 3 or 4
rabid
songs.
fans. Like she had.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
3 or 4 songs that I really like of hers, and I like her style as far as what she wanted to bring to the music scene. And that's what the documentary really entails, is her unique spin on music that was not around for up and coming artists at that time, and she had that kind of soulful jazziness to her, and it was really refreshing and different. And it was one of those things that I really appreciated, because I do love jazz, and I like that bluesy kind of like small speakeasy feel. And you got the girl up there, and she's just spelting out a song in her vibe and her feels. I enjoyed it. It was devastating. It's hard to process because of the drug addiction and amongst everything, but mostly it was about the fame, and how some people just can't handle that level of
scrutiny,
notoriety, and
being famous has to be one of the fucking word. You get assholes like us on podcasts talking about you, making assumptions about you that they don't know the truth and stuff. It's just, I would have such a problem if I was famous in any type of way, because I would
you would be terrible, dude.
I'd be reading the comments. I would be Ryan Johnson, responding to every negative comment on Twitter and stuff.
You'd be getting in fights too, probably.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Oh, I know.
I'd be like,
you would not. It just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. I would be such a I would be that person where you're like, wow, this guy's really losing. And it's like, no, I'm perfectly sane. I just have an anger problem.
No, and I'll be honest. I would. Knowing me, this is I could do it, But this is I know that I would need somebody to watch over me, so I would not have social media.
Yeah.
I'd be those type. I would specifically, knowing me, I would remove all social media.
You'd have to hire someone to run your social media so you don't see that shit.
Right. I don't want to partake in it at all.
Yeah.
I can't, because I will get sucked into it and I'll get fucking depressed.
I just know, like, you know, luckily we're on this show. It's never going anywhere. No one's ever going to listen to us, so we don't have to worry about anything. Like,
we're pretty much just talking to ourselves.
Pretty much just talking to ourselves, just putting our voices off into the ether to do nothing. But anything else that you watched?
Yeah, I saw this little indie ditty called Her Smell. I hate this movie.
No, wait, stop. Can we do a Jay's Indie Corner? Let's
I really don't want to.
Let's hit the Jay's Indie Corner music. Stop, we're hitting the Jay's Indie Corner music. All right, Jay. So you watched the little indie ditty,
I
Her
did.
Smell.
Her
and
Smell.
My fake synopsis for Her Smell. We haven't done Indie Corner in a long time.
I know.
So for any new listeners, Indie Corner is when Jay brings up a little indie ditty. I like to immediately, based on name alone, come up with a fake synopsis for this indie film, and then
This is too good to not
yeah.
to not do.
And then Jay will tell us what the film is really about and then break it down for us. So my fake synopsis for this movie, Her Smell, is dude is out at a bar. He's out in the club. You know, they're having a great time, getting hot, getting sweaty, getting drinks. He meets a woman. They dance. They vibe. They take a little Molly. You know, it becomes early morning. The sunshine is the sun's just coming up, and they go back to her place. Things start getting hot and heavy, and you know, he's going down on her as she's laying down. He starts unbuckling her pants and stuff like that. Ooh. And he starts having this flashback to a thing that his uncle told him once. You know, everyone has that uncle, that creepy uncle who overshares. Well, this is his Uncle Fred, who overshared with him when he was a young man. And Uncle Fred told him, if you can smell her by the time you reach her belly button, you got to turn away.
I concur.
Right.
I've experienced it before once.
So it becomes like this moment of like, I'm there. I'm at the belly button. I'm unbuttoning the pants. If I smell it here, I got to get up and I got to walk away. And that's why it's called Her Smell, Jay. Because he's, you know, or the adverse to it is every man who says they won't go down on a woman because of a smell, you know what? Go run a mile, wipe your balls with your hands, and smell them. And then smell your fingers, and then tell me that women don't deal with a worse smell than any man ever has to. I'm sorry. You should go down on your ladies, fellas. You should do it.
You have to.
You have to. Don't be an
otherwise you're not going to get a good girl, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, that's
girls appreciate that.
That's my fake synopsis, Jay. What is Her Smell actually about?
It is actually about a self-destructive punk rocker, kind of like a Courtney Love style.
All right, so the club part I got right so far. All right, yeah.
And she's mostly just struggling with her growing sobriety issues and trying to really recapture that kind of creative inspiration that she had when they were just starting out. And
sounds like a movie I watched this week.
Is a mess of a movie. This has a lot of strong different viewpoints from some people who have actually seen this movie. Some people really appreciate it and really liked it. I hated it. I thought it was an insanely just overall disappointing film.
Okay.
That has a lot of long one-take scenes, a lot of pointless, meandering, misunderstood scenes that don't make any kind of sense whatsoever. And it has a host of interesting actors in there. I mean, for the most part, so this character is actually played by Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, okay.
Who normally I do like quite a bit. And she goes for broke.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not bad in it. It's just, this is written and directed by Alex Ross Perry. I don't know this guy at all. He's done some odd things here and there.
The only Alex Ross I know of is a comic book artist. So. He's
done a little bit of acting, a little bit of writing, a little bit of directing. I don't think he's anything of substance or special. But Dan Stevens plays her husband, and Cara Delevingne, she plays a role as another different kind of rival band with Ashley Benson, and so there are some people here, but God, it's exhausting,
right?
And then the music sucks, and it's just kind of infuriating to watch because you're just impatiently waiting for something to actually happen, and there's just no gratifying outcome of this movie whatsoever. Not really. It tries to, but it just doesn't succeed whatsoever. So, this is a C- movie for me. I kind of respect for what they tried to do. It just did not deliver, and it was frustratingly long as well at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Speaking of Elizabeth Moss, have you seen the trailer for the film that she's in with Melissa McCarthy called The Kitchen?
Very odd.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that, Dave.
So if you don't know what The Kitchen is, these are the wives of gangsters in Hell's Kitchen in the 1970s, and they begin to take over their husbands' criminal enterprises, and they kind of become enthralled in like gang warfare. So the trailer is extremely strange because like it starts off as like this is going to be hilarious. Women as gangsters.
Well, the three, Tiffany Haddish right. as well.
What a knee slapper that's gonna be. Right? And then like out of nowhere, it turns into this hard crime drama, like where like they are in gang wars. Like Elizabeth Moss, they show a scene where she's taking a baseball bat or a machete to someone's head in an alleyway, and she's covered in blood and stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, this is not the route I was expecting this trailer to go.
Well, this is the first time directed film from Andrea Bariloff, and she has done some interesting writing credits, with Straight Outta Compton, World Trade Center, whatever.
I was just surprised by it because I was like,
I'm not feeling it.
Oh, I'm feeling it. I definitely want to check it out.
But the trailer, I don't know if it was the way the cinematography was. It just seemed a little too.
No, it's very 1970s looking.
Maybe it was just a little too clean looking. Like I just couldn't take the actors serious when they went from the start to the finish.
Well, that's what I mean.
To go serious. I'm like,
that's a tonal thing. Like it starts off as like this is a Melissa McCarthy, comedy. It's going to be a lot like what was that movie, Hot Pursuit, that she was in, or Spy and stuff like that. Right. Like it's a Melissa McCarthy vehicle. And then like it changes. Like it just turns, and you're like, oh my. Oh, they are shooting people for reals, and like this is dark.
Straight-faced,
Yeah, and like they are in legit. Like they even talk about going into a neighborhood at one point, and you're like, we can't go in there. We're never going to come out alive. And then like Elizabeth Moss' character is just like, so what time do we leave? What should I wear? And she's like, no, this isn't a joke. And I was like, I thought it was a joke. I'm watching the trailer. The trailer made me think it was a joke. Now it's not a joke. Now they're really dying and killing people. Jesus Christ. And then it ends with all them like counting money, and Melissa McCarthy's just like, I lost count. I got to start over again. They have so much money out on the table. It's like, I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. I kind of want to give this a shot. So
I don't know.
But speaking of Elizabeth Moss, again, I started watching Handmaid's Tale season 3. Did
that just start?
It started about a couple weeks ago. Ooh. So there is 3 episodes up, I want to say right now. Me and Lauren.
I need to get on that.
I'll be honest. Handmaid's Tale is not like one of those shows where like I watch it religiously. Like I don't sit there. I watch it religiously. Lauren's the big fan of it. I pick up episodes here and there, and I'm not as big a fan as like some other people, but so far I'm enjoying the season. I'm enjoying where they're going with it, and Bradley Whitford is a big character this season, and I love him. My man.
Sure.
I love Bradley, my man.
He's fantastic.
Tequila is my lady. My lady.
This is a good role for him because I can see him fitting into this world pretty well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My favorite role of his is still and always will be Cabin in the Woods, but but other than that, I watched all of season 5 of Black Mirror, man, and what an absolute fucking letdown that was.
That dropped too?
It dropped.
Jesus Christ! What else did I miss when I was in Mexico?
So, I didn't like it, man. The
whole season.
Pretty much.
All the episodes? Nothing?
There's only 3 of them.
But still.
The first one has Anthony Mackie in it, and they are about 2 friends who go... I
know that the trailer didn't wow me. I know that. So
the guy the one friend buys Anthony Mackie a video game. It works like virtual reality. You go inside the video game, and while inside the video game, they begin a romantic relationship with one another, and then it becomes a question about whether they are gay or not. Whether, like, 2 men having a sex... Because one avatar is a female and one avatar of the other guy is a male. So when they go in, when they do stuff with each other, like, is that gay? Like, it becomes like this big question between them. Like, where does their relationship stand now? Are they best friends? Are they gay? Are they what? Like, and it's that one was the most interesting one.
Okay.
And now it makes me feel very strange when I ask Duty from Shaken Not Nerd, like, you want to play video games? It's very strange now because it's like, I don't know, is this like our boy date time? Is that what we're doing?
Well, what do you think of that? Because that was a long time from season 2 from season 4 to season 5.
I don't know.
And then coming out with 3
letdown
episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
the second episode was not crazy.
a little
about.
startling.
It's a hostage situation, and it takes place in 2018, so it's not even futuristic. So, like, this show that was about like this allegory for as cautionary tales of where our technology can lead us.
Sure.
You're now telling a contemporary story that's cautionary about the technology we have today, and it winds up being a PSA about not driving while looking at your phone. Like, it becomes a don't text and drive PSA in the end. And I did not like the second episode at all. I thought I was going to. I thought it was leading. It's like one of those Black Mirror episodes where it's like you're waiting for it to lead you to the reveal that like really drives
which can
home.
be big.
Which and you wind up loving it, and it just didn't come. Like it
Wow.
just. And a lot of these are ending the way the episodes are ending now. They end with more of like an open-ended ending. Then they kind of fill in a little bit of the open-ended pieces throughout the credits. So you actually have to watch the credits because they have scenes during the credits as well. Yeah, it bothered me. And then finally, the last one
Miley
is
Cyrus?
Ashley 2. Yeah, where Miley Cyrus's consciousness is stuck in the toy that she released out to people. And yeah, it's very straight. It's almost like they cast these people, especially the Miley Cyrus episode. It's like they cast Miley Cyrus and then wrote a story around her. And that's what's really like drawing me out of it is like some of these actors that are in it now are big name. Anthony Mackie's a pretty big name actor, you know. Oh yeah, Miley Cyrus is pretty well known universally. And then in the second episode, it's Topher Grace, so he's in it. Yeah, and I'll be honest, Topher Grace's character is probably like the best part. I liked him in that, but it's taken me out of it, and it doesn't feel like Black Mirror anymore. It just didn't feel like the Black Mirror that I fell in love with in seasons 1, 2, and 3.
That's really disappointing.
Season 4 I was half and half on. Like, I liked some of it, especially
me too.
But the USS McAllister, loved that episode. But there's still a lot to love in season 4. Season 5, dude, all 3 episodes. I don't know, man. You're gonna have to give it a shot and let me know what you think.
I will.
But it's a short watch, 3 hours. You watch indie movies that are longer than that. So hell, one half of the Nymphomaniac volumes was 3 hours, and you watch that shit.
Know.
So yeah, definitely check it out. Let me know what you think. I did not like it. So
okay.
I'm kind of.
No, I'm definitely gonna see it regardless.
It's one of those things where like I wish they just step away when you're the champion. You know. Retire the belt, hang it up.
Yeah, but I still think there was plenty of things that you can still do.
There's a ton of stuff they could have done. I wouldn't even mind if they even went back and did like.
You don't want to stray from the formula too much, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think that's what happened. This season definitely brought it to contemporary, you know, and they made it feel
not necessary.
And I don't want to say like too real, but like it was too relatable in a way. Like it's not a cautionary tale of the far-flung future of where we're heading. It's more of like this is either a couple years from now, or in one story's case, 2018, a year ago. So yeah, not loving it. Didn't like it at all. And then Jay, I watched Rocketman. You reviewed it last week.
Yes.
And yeah, it's probably why I'm so musical this week. It's why I'm singing so much. But you know what? I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it. Me
too.
I love Taron Egerton. I loved him in the role. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
The best part of the movie.
He absolutely is 100%. Jamie Bell, I loved in it as well. I loved him in the role. I like that dynamic between the two. I like that the story portrayal of that, you know, where he's in love with him, but the other guy just loves him as a friend, and they're brothers, and they, you know, it's a bond that carries them through.
True story,
through their career and stuff like that. I wasn't crazy about the musical numbers being used as like these montages that take us into
his life, kind of.
Yeah, into like a new era in his life, a new age in his life. You know,
some of them worked for me, some of them didn't.
Right, and I found it like I found it a little jarring because I'm like, all right, when we started out, we're in like
it's an ambitious musical,
right? We're in the late 60s, early 70s, and then next thing I know, we're in like 1975-ish, maybe late 1980s, and it's like it just keeps bouncing around. And even though it's all linear and stuff like that, it feels like they're glossing over some stuff that, like, I was like, I guess that that kind of feels like a big deal. But they're kind of glossing over it in this musical number. So that was like a little bit jarring to me, but I understand that the real story in it, the real through line for it is his addiction and stuff, which is why
which was surprising.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think anybody, I mean, obviously people knew that he, had struggles and has been sober for a while, but I didn't think that this movie was going to be really focusing on that.
I gotta say that
so much.
The big thing that really drew me in was Egerton's performance. I loved his performance. I thought it was fantastic. Once reading that Tom Hardy was mentioned one time for being it, and that I know you mentioned Justin Timberlake last week, but also James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe were both in pre-production, just before they were filming, it was between those two to play the role, and then somehow Taron Egerton came out of nowhere and
now
wound up
we can't
landing
envision
the role.
anybody else,
right? And then I'm sitting here and after reading that, I was thinking about James McAvoy in that role and Daniel Radcliffe, and neither one of them really fit for me. But Taron Egerton, such a wonderful voice, does all of his own singing in it. I thought he did a fantastic job. And you're right, where they ended the movie with the song that they used, it was so perfect. It's perfect. It carries you right through to the end and leaves you with a great toe tapping feeling when you walk away. So I mean, I wouldn't score it terribly high, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I still like Bohemian Rhapsody more. So.
Yeah, that's that, and I think you were surprised by my grade because I gave it a B, which was.
But no, having seen it now, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
But it's still worth a watch. I think it's still worth a watch. And,
sure.
You may not have to go out to the theater to see it, but people love Elton John's music, and Taron Egerton singing these songs himself does not. I love disservice to his songs.
I love Elton John. I've seen him twice in concert. I saw him.
Oh, cool.
I saw him with Billy Joel twice. They went on tours together. Yeah, the two piano men together, and it was great.
I would have loved that.
They did a great thing. Elton John would come out first, and then Billy Joel would come out, and then they would both come out together, and they would do this dueling pianos where they would play part of an Elton John song, and then Billy Joel would pick up with one of his songs and then eventually just became a duet. It was so perfectly balanced, and they really complemented each other and stuff like that. It was great. I loved
beautiful.
it. I loved it. It was such a great experience. I loved seeing both of them live, and I love both their music. So, I don't think you can live in the Northeast and not like Billy Joel.
That's true.
Things are okay for me these days. I got a new job. I got a new office. I got a new life. I got a new wife, and my family is fine. Oh, lost touch long ago. Let's go review 2 movies. All right. I did see 2 movies this week. I did get out to the theaters and I saw Dark Phoenix. And on Friday night, AMC was holding early releases. If you were AMC club member, you got to go see Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die 2 weeks early. So I managed to get out and see The Dead Don't Die as well. So I got 2 5-minute-ish reviews for those coming up. All right, Jay, you were a little bit busy this week being down in Mexico, and I was able to get out to the theaters and see 2 movies to review. So the first one up is a film that you and I were extremely excited about. We saw the trailer. We did a trailer park on it. It's Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die.
The hell was it? A wild animal?
This is really awful. Maybe the worst thing I've ever seen.
What was it, wild animals?
So what are you thinking? I'm thinking zombies. What? You know, the undead. ghouls.
I think what sold me on this movie from the get-go was, first off, Jim Jarmusch. He's made films that I've enjoyed in the past, Coffee and Cigarettes, Broken Flowers. Those are my two favorite films from him. I find them extremely funny, in both an awkward sense and in conversational comedic timing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I find both those movies extremely charming and lovable. And the cast, man, Bill Murray, you know, Adam Driver, Steve Buscemi. I absolutely love the cast. Danny Glover, you know, it was, and the cast this cast of characters is so good in their mundane nature. And that's what it is. It's about a small town where the zombies rise, after a natural disaster has occurred due to fracking on the polar ice caps.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Zombies
so
rise.
there's a little political.
There's a lot of little things. They rise, and the town sheriff and his deputy, played by Bill Murray and Adam Driver, have to survive it while breaking the fourth wall at times too. It is
Fourth wall.
They break the fourth wall. So this
trailer was pretty misleading then, because it just seemed to be like a nice Jim, but had a little punchy flair to it, but a nice Jim Jarmusch's kind of take to zombies,
right,
and with a fun small town. But you didn't feel.
I'm thinking zombies. You know, the undead.
This is a little surprising.
Ghouls.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, this trailer did sell me on it. So I was very much looking forward to this. Now I wasn't expecting like Zombieland or Shaun of the Dead, but I know people who just watched this trailer are expecting that. If they're not familiar with Jim Jarmusch, that's what they're expecting. They're going in there and they're expecting a zombie comedy like that. And it's not here. This is 100% a Jim Jarmusch film. Tom Waits is in it, for Christ's sakes. You know,
of course.
It's extremely deadpan in its comedy and delivery. So if you don't find humor in deadpan, if you don't think just like that absolute flat delivery of jokes is funny in any way, you're going to get zero enjoyment out of this film. If you don't find hilarity in the mundane, you're not going to find comedy in this jokes. If you don't like political statements literally being slapped across your face like a dead wet fish, you're not going to like this movie. I get the feeling there's going to be more people who dislike this movie than like it.
I think you're right. However, let me ask you this. Do you think, since you have, am expecting a little bit of a mixed emotions.
You're expecting? Congratulations. You're going to be a daddy.
Do you think you can actually enjoy this movie more in repeat viewings or less in repeat viewings? Because you are a semi-Jarmusch fan.
I'm probably never going to watch this movie again.
Okay.
I'm never going to watch this movie again. So while I do find the some of the moments extremely funny, and it got a few laughs out of me. And when I say laughs, I don't mean like belly laughs or anything like that. Like you know what I mean? Just like a little. I got it. That. Those are the type of laughs you're going to get in this. People repeating things. Like there's they discover dead bodies, and someone goes in and they're like, "What do you think it was? Animals? Several wild animals?" And then someone else goes in and look at the bodies and they're like, "Geez, I don't know what could have done that."
Is it Fargo-esque?
Maybe animals. Several dead animals. And then a third person goes in, comes out, says the exact same thing. And then on the news later on, they're like, it looked like two people were attacked by animals, or several animals.
Jesus.
So it's like, if you don't find that type of humor funny, like if you're listening to me saying that and you're like, okay, why is that funny? It's because it's all about the delivery and the actor and how they deliver it.
Sure.
That makes it funny. Is it like Fargo? In a way. Except there is no real story or intrigue.
Because I just recently rewatched Fargo.
Yeah. And it's hilarious, right?
Oh, yeah. No. But again, it's not for everybody, though.
Hey, Margie, you okay? Oh, yeah. Just got a bit of the morning sickness. I'll be fine.
You actually got a good accent right there. That was on point.
Oh, look at the size of this fella. I find that hilarious, far funnier than The Dead Don't Die.
Okay.
I think that was a much better, more punchier version of this type of comedy than The Dead Don't Die is. And like I said, yeah, man, they break the fourth wall. Like right in the beginning, there's a song on the radio, and Bill Murray says, like, I've never heard of this song, and he goes, well, it's the theme song. Adam Driver tells him it's the theme song for the movie. It's the theme song. and then they ignore that. And that doesn't come up until the end of the film, that the fourth wall being broken. It doesn't come up until later. Tom Waits has like a strange voiceover at the end. And I mean, look, it's a zombie movie in that there are zombies in it, but it's more of a political statement film about environmental, about the environment and global warming, and then also an allegory for consumerism, just like George A. Romero always intended. Rabid consumerism. You see in the trailer when the one zombie wakes up, she says Chardonnay. I'm like, did she just say Chardonnay? Zombies are looking for coffee. There's teenage zombies walking around with phones in their hand going, Wi-Fi. So it's like this allegory of like rampant consumerism and like people looking for that thing that they loved in life that made them feel whole, that one thing that they cherished in life. So, it's so hard to like recommend it to anybody.
Certainly an ambitious film.
Yeah, man.
For Jarmusch
and to be coming out in the summer, I think this is a very strange time for this to be coming out. I think it's I think what it is the
financiers are just essentially trying to cash grab as much as possible because of the genre and the cast.
That's it. They're banking on zombie comedy,
opening
summer
weekend, and just
people going in and seeing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I really don't think people are going to love this. I found a fair bit of enjoyment in it, but I know that like it's a hard recommend for people. Lauren has a very similar sense of humor to me. We watched it together. She didn't like it. She didn't find it funny at all. She found it extremely boring and borderline ridiculous at other times. So, my score for The Dead Don't Die, C+. I'm gonna give it a C+. There's enjoyment there. It's still there. And Adam Driver is wonderful with deadpan. He is great with comedic timing and delivery and stuff like that. We all know Bill Murray's great at that. Like, we know he's got that down. And I gotta say, Tilda Swinton also is fantastic in it. I love her. She's this very quirky character and stuff like that. And the reveal for her at the end will certainly have you scratching your head. I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna be like, okay. Wasn't expecting that, but there it is. There's a lot of that in this movie, and it's tough for me to say go out and watch it because I don't. Well,
I will because I am a Jarmusch fan and I like to support him as much as possible. So I will get around to seeing it. I wanted to see it, and but your next review movie, I might not.
I don't think anybody is going to. So next up, Jay, unfortunately, just to bury the lead right there, I went out and saw X-Men Dark Phoenix, this X-Men film that has been in development for a very long time. They spent a ton of money in reshoots on this movie. It was delayed several times, and it's finally out, and it's here.
Jean, why don't you start at the beginning?
Something's happened to me. Something I can't control. And it scares me. It feels good.
She'll kill us all. The girl dies.
Get down! Are you threatening me? Because that would be a bad idea.
The year is 1992. It's 9 years after the events of X-Men Apocalypse, 19 years after Days of Future Past, and 30 years after the First Class. And these motherfuckers have found the Fountain of Youth because Professor X and Magneto are somewhere in their early 60s. Hank McCoy is in his 50s, and the younger cast members should all be in their late 20s or so, and no one has aged a fucking bit. And I'm sitting here trying to watch these movies with some minuscule amount of continuity, something to like, that I can follow. And for me, that stuff really bothers me. I'm finding that there's no continuity. In fact, Fox has pretty much taken the continuity after Days of Future Past, which was made to kind of correct the continuity. They threw it all in a blender, hit puree, and now I'm left choking it down and trying not to vomit. That's how I feel while watching it. I am a story guy, so I'm also a continuity guy, right? So when you have this universe that's 12 films large now, and there is seemingly no continuity between films, it drives me absolutely insane. Like, it really, and we talked about this with X-Men Apocalypse too. I remember my review for Apocalypse was a big downgrade for it, was the fact that these people should be older and they're not. Fassbender still looks like Fassbender.
Right.
McAvoy still looks like McAvoy. And it's fine that they look like it, but they've done very little to age them up to make you believe that there's been any type of passage of time. The year is just a setting. It does nothing more for your characters. They haven't grown with age. They haven't become anything different. And for certain characters like Hank McCoy, he makes character decisions that are so far off from what his character has been previously in the rest of the films. It makes absolutely no sense. There are just some things that go on in this movie. The motivations for some of the characters are absolutely ridiculous. Towards the end, there's a point where Nightcrawler just goes on a killing spree. And I'm like, that's not Nightcrawler. He's a freaking, he's a religious guy. Like they mention that in the other films. He's not some maniac who gets upset because something just happened and goes on a killing spree. And the people he's killing, Jay, I gotta say, this might spoil something a little bit, so minor spoilers here, but the group of people who capture the mutants towards the end of the movie are the Mutant Containment Unit. Say it with me. Mutant Containment Unit. Now put it in an anagram. MCU. The MCU are trying to capture the mutants and keep them locked up.
Oh, boy.
And if that
can it be any more obvious?
If that is like, I've heard a few people say like that's just a coincidence. They've had mutant containment units and stuff like that before. And no, I'm sorry. When they use the MCU and they put it so blatantly on the screen like that it's definitely a nod. It's definitely a nod to the recent buyout. And even then, even when this film was in production, the buyout was almost a foregone conclusion. So I got to think this is Simon Kinberg's just a little elbow, a little elbow in the ribs. And there was just so much in this film that bothered me. And I want to say like the acting isn't part of it. Fassbender is still fantastic as Magneto. He's only ever been fantastic as Magneto. It's a wonderful role for him. It's a shame that the stories that he's in don't do anything more to elevate that character. They stopped elevating him after Days of Future Past. McAvoy is still pretty solid as Professor X.
Okay.
Ty Sheridan is an okay Scott Summers, right? He's an okay Cyclops. I don't feel like leadership from him. I don't feel any type of real presence from him in the film, and that's a problem because I should feel for him, right? It's his girlfriend that's gone insane. That's become the Dark Phoenix. So, but he's not bad in it at all. And Sophie Turner, I quite like in the movie too. It's the story, man.
Did she have the most screen time, or she was mostly like the?
No, she was there. She was there a fair bit.
Villain-esque kind of role.
No, she was there a fair bit. No, she's the tragic villain. There are a group of aliens who are also hunting the Phoenix Force, which is inside of Jean Grey. So you got the X-Men who are going after Jean Grey to stop her and bring her home and stuff and try to help her. And then you have the aliens who we really get no much explanation for as to what they are or anything like that. We just know that they're kind of like these elemental forces that existed and they're ancient and stuff like that. And they also want the Phoenix Force for their own use because apparently, as well as destroying life, the Phoenix Force can also create life. So they want to create their own planet, and they also want to destroy all of humanity and use the Phoenix Force to rebuild it. It seems extremely confusing. And that's the problem. Plot, script, it's all a problem. All of it is a problem. And I say all that while knowing in my heart,
thank God it's all over.
This is not the worst X-Men movie. X-Men Apocalypse is worse than this. X-Men Origins Wolverine is worse than this. This is more on par with like The Last Stand. There will be a moment or two in it that you enjoy. There will be things that happen in the movie where you enjoy it and it feels like a minor payoff. And there's just most of the film that you're going to wind up scratching your head, just going, okay, Sure. You know, one of the things in superhero movies that really bothers me is when there's no limitation to powers, right? When seemingly anyone can do anything that the script calls them to do. So Storm is a character who can use the weather, right? She can call on high winds. She can call on freezing rain. She can draw lightning out of the clouds and strike people with it. But in this film, she's throwing lightning from her hands. Not calling it from the sky like she controls the weather. Like she just has lightning in her at all times. There's a point where she's in space, Jay.
So she didn't develop that?
No, I don't know. They don't explain that. Okay. There's a point where they're in space, Jay, and she starts freezing things. What weather is there in space? For weather, there must be atmosphere. If there's no atmosphere, there's no weather. If there's no weather, Storm has no powers. But here she does. So the script called for her to use her powers at this point, so she used them. And that bothers me. It's like you're not setting any type of expectations, any rules. And that goes back to my problem of continuity with the Fox universe of X-Men films.
I just don't understand that.
That was like a 6-minute rant. I know.
Some kind of shit boxed movie with this kind of budget and expecting what? People to go want to see it?
Here's the thing. I don't think they knew they were making a shitbox movie. I 100% think that.
But these things are such a noticeable
dude, you gotta remember,
like
Simon Kinberg has been involved with the X-Men films pretty much since the beginning. He's been around since he's been a producer on the films for a long time. It's his first time directing.
But some of this stuff is common sense.
And there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen, you know, coming with this movie coming out. There's a ton of cooks in the kitchen. You had studio, you know, at one point this was supposed to save Fox. At another point, it's now supposed to come out and please Disney. And in my conspiracy theorist mind, I think Disney wanted this to fail. Even though they spent a lot of money for reshoots and stuff, I think Disney wanted this to fail. They needed this to fail. If this was a hit, if this was popular, it keeps the zeitgeist of this franchise alive, and it means that they can't do what they want with the characters. They kind of have to please people and try to keep this franchise alive. Where instead, if this movie was a big bomb, now they have a reason to go, well, we can just redo it. Just redo it all. And I think that's what they wanted. I think they wanted to do it their way. I'm not saying that's a bad thing that MCU is to do it their own way. But
they will in a few years, and I hope
they take time.
And they'll do a fine job with that. I'm not worried about that. You know, it's just unfortunate because they didn't necessarily cast poorly.
No, I think
these films at all.
I think Sophie Turner's a good Jean Grey. I like her as an actress.
It's just disappointing with the people.
And I gotta say, like, for the character, I thought she did a better job as Jean Grey in this movie than she did in Apocalypse. I thought this was a better character portrayal for her.
Good.
But in the end, like, you know, the rapping is just so bad. Like, it's just not, there's nothing there that is any good. And I know I'm trashing this movie a lot while saying it's not the worst X-Men film. You know? It's not the worst. I think a lot of the negative hype for it is a lot of hyperbole. I think a lot of people were expecting this to fail. They got there. It was as bad as they thought it was going to be, and it's just not getting a fair look. When I was watching it, I was trying to find things to enjoy, and there certainly are those moments. There certainly are moments there that you can enjoy. Dazzler's in the movie. If you're an X-Men fan, Dazzler's there. Dazzler's in it. That's cool for me because I'm a geek and I geek out over little things like that. So I did find my enjoyment in it. I'm not going to say I loved it.
This is like an HBO film for me. Like,
it's
I will
not even
catch
that,
it.
Jay. It's not even.
It's not even that.
It's not even that.
Ew.
It's like you have gangrene on your leg and you can't get out of bed and you're watching FX movies.
Oh God.
And and next up after X-Men Apocalypse, which you almost clawed your eyes out while watching, is Dark Phoenix in a couple years, and then you're gonna be like, all right, well, I can't reach the remote, so guess I'm gonna watch Dark Phoenix.
I can only imagine what this grade is going to be.
It's a D+.
I'm surprised it's that high.
It's a D+. It's
okay.
like, you know, it's just it. I don't want to say like it's an F because I can see effort there and I see some great acting and I'm still seeing Magneto and I like the way the story for Magneto and Professor X goes. I like the ending for those two.
I guess D+ is fair.
Right. And for me, this franchise started with those two. We go to First Class and like,
of course,
they were the draw and they've been the draw for me since the beginning.
They always have been and they've been fantastic in their roles.
They have been. And
they really have.
And that's really the saving grace for it is I don't think the acting is terrible. I just think the script and the plot is just, it's meandering and it's fucked and it was just too much. They really needed to simplify this. They really needed to bring it back down to earth. No pun intended. But yeah, not even like cautionary. Just don't see it. It's just not worth it. It's not worth your money. It's not really even worth your time. It's definitely like a fuck. I got nothing else to watch. Let's see how bad Dark Phoenix really was.
Okay.
Let's see how bad it really was.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's a 50% really. Like I know I gave it a D+, but like it's a 50-50 movie. It's like,
it doesn't even sound like a 50-50 movie.
It's like it's whatever. It's just whatever. It's 50-50. It's
let's go 60-40.
let's go 60. That might be a little bit more accurate. 60-40. But yeah, it's just not worth it.
All right, let's just move on then.
So coming up next, me and Jay got our beer reviews to do, and then we're going to talk more X-Men.
We are.
Because we're going to do our top...
But the better ones.
Right. We're going to talk about our top 5 X-Men films in the franchise because, every time you get something bad, you want to remember the good things too. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got 2 beers that we're going to be reviewing for you, but before we do that, got to drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water, drink it down, and your hangover starts to feel better immediately. So if you spent the better part of a week in Mexico for your sister's wedding,
tequila!
Down in the Mexicali, there's a crazy little place I know where the drinks are hotter than the chili sauce and the boss is a cat named Joe. He wears a red bandana, plays a blues piano in a honky-tonk down in Mexico. He wears a purple sash and a black mustache in a honky-tonk down in Mexico. In Mexico, all of a sudden in walks a chick.
And there she goes.
All right, so if that's what you did all week, then you're going to want to get yourself some Blowfish. You just head over to forhangovers.com, use the promo code SMBFish, and get your 15% off. Super Movie Brothers is also brought to you by the Podcoin app. The Podcoin app is an app that you can use to listen to podcasts, much like other apps, except this one allows you to earn a little bit extra while you're listening to your podcast. So make sure that you download the Podcoin app on the iOS or Android stores, and you can start listening to your podcast and earning points that could get you some cool swag, some gifts, some gift cards, the things that you like to do. All right, and of course, we have our Indie Pod Spotlight for this week. This week's Indie Pod Spotlight comes to us from another Analog Legends podcast. This one is Let's Get Down to Business.
When are we gonna get down to business?
What are you doing?
Well, it's Macho Man Randy Savage. I figured it was apt. Why?
Because this is Let's Get Down to Business with Stephanie.
And Kevin. Oh, yeah.
And every week we review
Disney movies and shorts. Sometimes it's the cream of the crop. Other times it's a package film.
So that idiot is my husband, and every week I make him watch Disney movies with me because I have to put up with this stuff.
And I make her watch wrestling.
If you want to hear 2 adults
talk about childish things
and
the history and the Wikipedia entries. Oh, yeah.
Just a note, this podcast is not safe for children.
In case you didn't know.
So we hope you listen along to Let's Get Down to Business
with Stephanie and Kevin. Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's get down to business. As they said, they're a not safe for work podcast about Disney movies. And Jay, you know my love for Disney movies.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been checking them out over the past couple weeks. I first went through their catalog and just looked up my favorite like Disney movies, the ones I really wanted to hear them talk about. And then I've been going in and finding ones that are for some lesser known Disney films. It's always a great time with them. And I encourage everybody to get out there and check out Let's Get Down to Business on your favorite podcatcher. Why not try it on the Podcoin app? All right, Jay, we got 2 beers that we are going to be reviewing this week. So why don't you start off with yours, man? What are you drinking?
I have Lawson's Finest Liquids, Sip of Sunshine.
The finest liquids for your mouth.
The finest.
It's the finest.
And it has a really cool, groovy, fun can.
Yes.
It's quite underwhelming, my friend here. I'll tell you why. Because this is expensive. It's $5.50 a can.
That's not that expensive.
It's an 8%er. And it just seems like a nice, typical IPA. There'll be back a little bit of a punch, have a nice little bite to it, a little juicy. And it has a great description, and it just doesn't give that flavor. It has a lot of bitter aftertaste to it that really just does not sit well with me.
Well, maybe that's what sunshine tastes like. You don't know.
I know, it's true.
Yeah.
It might happen like that. But it is underwhelming. It doesn't have the best marriage of flavors. It's a little bit of a hoppy, juicy mess to me. It just isn't well produced. So I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5.
Wow, it's pretty low, man. And I am drinking the Saranac American Pale Ale. This is 5.5% alcohol by volume, 32 IBUs. And it's all right. You know, I've never really been blown away by any Saranac beer. So I wasn't expecting much from this one, and they didn't disappoint. It's much like Dark Phoenix, where I was like, I'm not expecting a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't pleasantly surprised, but it's over, and that's how I'm going to look at this beer.
You didn't hate your time with this.
I'm going to finish it, and then I'm going to be like, all right, well, that's over. Then we go get something that I really enjoy now.
Right.
This beer is just super solid. It is a classic pale ale, a little bit hoppier than your average pale ale. Very dark in color compared to other pale ales.
It is.
And it's a little bit pinier, less fruity. It's a very solid standard pale ale. You can't go wrong with it. You can't hate it for being what it is. It's just
a little different style though. It's got a little hoppy, piney taste.
Yeah,
to
it's just like salt of the earth. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I feel like a guy who's who's a little bit afraid to like jump into craft beers could pick up a Saranac and be like, yeah, look, come on, it's just Americana. Look at the front cover. It's a guy in a boat on a pond and a river and all that stuff. Come on, look at that. Yeah, it's like 2.5. It's nothing fantastic. It's nothing terrible.
That's what I was guessing by your description.
Yeah, it's just whatever. It's gonna come, it's gonna go. I'm gonna piss it out, and then I'm gonna go to drinking another beer. Exactly. All right, Jay, let's head over and let's get into our top 5 for this week. Our top 5 is the top 5 X-Men films out of the 12 that have been released so far in the X-Men franchise, because we got the final one from the main continuity, really, Dark Phoenix, and I just want to see how that one stacks up to the rest of them. Jay, our top 5 X-Men movies. So the current X-Men movie franchise, which appears to be ending with Dark Phoenix, and I say appears because we still technically have another film in this universe on the horizon. Maybe in this universe. We have New Mutants, which is still out there, not completely canceled. All filmed, but not released yet, and don't know when it's getting released or what platform it's getting released on. A lot of talk, people talking about whether it's going to be on Disney Plus, straight to Netflix, on demand, or whether it will get a full theatrical release. Right now, they're saying it's still getting a full theatrical release.
Okay.
We just don't know when. Like 2020, 2021, maybe? Who knows? I guess they're just looking for the right spot for it, or finding a way to market it in some way that'll make them money. But the
whole Hollywood landscape is changing quite drastically.
It is.
and vastly. So they're all trying to figure things out. I think the super high budget stuff is going to be, modestly coming down a little bit more and more.
I think so too. I like that because I don't think sometimes I love what directors can do with a limited budget, right? Like it adds a lot. Like we look at Brightburn, right?
Sure, exactly.
I think if Brightburn had a massive budget, we would see too much, and it would lose that little bit of mystery, that little air of mystery that exists in the back of your mind, where your mind fills in the holes and creates more terror than they could ever possibly show you. Like, and so stuff like that. Yeah, I think you're right. A limited budget, we'll see. The MCU is going to get up going again. Star Wars will get up and going again. Big budgets will still rule the box office in the summer. I'm just hoping that we get more things like Brightburn, stuff that occurs in like the fringes,
right?
That winds up being really, really good stuff that we really enjoy. But the X-Men films, we're gonna do our top 5 for them here, and
yes.
It's always been a franchise that gives with one hand and takes with the other. Like you get one good film and then you get slapped in the face with a bad one.
Yeah, or it's just a jumbled mess. Some great scenes, some bad scenes, some what the fuck scenes, some things that just don't make any sense,
right.
And it's a bit of a mixed bag.
So
it's a whirlwind of series,
and it's weird. And I'll be honest,
we're just doing our top 5. We're not doing a whole full rankings.
No, but
don't pull that shit on me last minute.
I'll be honest with you. Like after watching Dark Phoenix, I wanted to do this list because I went back and I watched the other films.
As you do, Dave.
I watched 12 movies.
The Dave disease.
Over the past week, I watched all 12 X-Men movies. I do own them all, with the exception of Apocalypse. I don't own Apocalypse. But luckily it was on. And
let me guess, you will not own Dark Phoenix.
I will not either. But it was on FX Movies, so I had it on demand. So I did watch the movie, but I don't own it. So and. In a weird way, as much as I say this is not a great franchise and it gives with one hand, takes with the other, I still love these characters. I still enjoy this franchise, right? Like I want it to succeed. It's not I know. It's not like I went into Dark Phoenix and I wanted this to fail. I had low expectations, but that doesn't mean I wanted it to be bad. It was, but I didn't want it to be. I want these characters to do well, right? I don't even necessarily want to see the X-Men in the MCU. I kind of like them existing on their own and stuff like that. However, I never felt like Fox really gave the source material, never really gave the comics its due. It gives little nods to it here and there, but they take it in its own direction, which in a way is okay, and other times can be extremely grating for me as a comic book fan. But in the end, I can only name 5 films that I would put on a list that are truly rewatchable.
Right.
That I actually love some of them. So let's get started with you, Jay. What is your number 5?
X-Men First Class.
All right.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lenstra.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
All right. Why X-Men First Class?
I just thought this was a refreshing new wave kind of take on it with new cast of actors.
New era.
Yeah. And a surprising era in some ways. And it just kind of brought a new freshness to the series, I think, that it needed. And it really just gave us a lot of the new actors that we lovingly love playing these roles. For example, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. They knocked it out of the park.
And even early on, I really liked Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy. I liked him. Right. I liked him there. And of course, people fell in love with Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. Like they tried to hang this franchise on her after
they tried to because of other reasons, because of her Oscar Beatty movies going on at the same time. So her star was very much shining at that time.
And Matthew Vaughn was a fresh director at the time.
Exactly.
And he brought new life to a franchise that was run into the ground pretty much. You know, it had its bad days.
But unfortunately, the bad guys sucked. Kevin Bacon and January Jones were terrible. I really didn't like it.
It always bothered me that he had the helmet gifted to him from the Soviets, and that later on becomes Magneto's helmet. I always envisioned Magneto like having such disdain for Charles Xavier and such fear that Charles was reading his mind that he developed that helmet himself. You know, it was always like an obsession with him that he protect himself against Charles. And like here, it's like, no, I got it. It was just given to me. It's like, oh, well,
but I still had a good time with it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think, you know, you've been introduced to a lot of other younger kids that are still learning their powers. And, you know, the mutants just in that day and age in the 60s being in the world. And it was just fun. And I had a good time with it. I know some people really liked it at that time as well. I think some people even have it higher on their list.
I think so too. Yeah.
But for me, this is my number 5.
Some people, as you look at me.
Oh.
One of my favorite characters in it was Banshee, played by Caleb Landry Jones, who was actually just in Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die. So he's still out there. He was also in 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri last year.
I'm aware of this actor. He is he's got a lot of indie cred.
He's good creepy. Like he's just
got a lot of dark roles out there.
He does. Yeah. Yeah. He was also in Get Out.
He did the movie before.
He played the brother in Get Out, who the very creepy brother who talks about UFC fighting and MMA and stuff, and about how, you know, he could be a wrecking ball.
You know that movie Good Time with Robert Pattinson? Yeah. Well, the Safdie brothers that did that movie, the movie before that, he was in that movie.
Okay.
And he was brutally bad.
Yeah.
I mean like as a bad character, bad, you know, like junkie New York piece of shit heroin addict kind of guy.
I don't know why I like Banshee so much in the movie. I think it's because
He's got potential, man.
I always liked Banshee as a character in the X-Men comics, and it was cool to see. He was like one of the original X-Men. Like he was back in the day, like Banshee was on the team and stuff. And so to have like the original 3 movies and not see him in it or hear him mentioned and stuff like that, and then to finally get him here, I was like, that's a nice nod. So I think that's what drew me to the character. All right, Jay, my number 5 though is the original, man.
You're in my school for the gifted, for mutants. You'll be safe here from Magneto.
What's a Magneto?
A very powerful mutant who believes that a war is brewing between mutants and the rest of humanity. I've been following his activities for some time. The man who attacked you is an associate of his called Sabretooth.
Sabretooth? Storm. What do they call you? Wheels? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
X-Men, just the first one. Bryan Singer,
very nice.
Back in the day, you know, it was the first time that this franchise obviously saw screen. It was in the year 2000. Like it was 19 years ago. This movie came out, and it is this, and Blade and Spider-Man 1 are really credited as the reason why we're still seeing superhero movies today. It was a film that like really had no business being as good as it was, because comic book movies at the time were still very hokey, you know, and believe me, when we go back and watch this now, this is hokey by our standards now.
Right.
But the standards of 2000, this was gritty. This was realistic.
Oh, yeah.
They're wearing black leather. It's like it's like the comic books doing Grant Morrison wrote them. And
I
like,
remember, man.
Wolverine's killing people. He's not just like, you know, punching people and calling them bub. He's still calling them bub, but he's killing them. Right? And obviously it's the first time we see Hugh Jackman in the role. Patrick Stewart was such like a fan pick to be Charles Xavier. So to get him here, it was great. Ian McKellen is such a fantastic Magneto. Yep. You know, the cast was great. The portrayals of the characters were all treated with reverence, and I felt like they were all pretty positive. The story is quite shit, though. I'm not gonna lie. When I watched it, I was like, it's not good. And some of the dialogue is extremely bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone knows about what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning. But other than that, I mean, like it's
the first one out of the gate.
Yeah, and
it's a fun movie,
and it does hold up to an extent.
To an extent, it does, and it's one of those things where I do remember that time, and it was gritty, it was exciting, it was something new and fresh, and it was a great ensemble
Right, and it's
that
really,
we never really had before.
It's like the first big Marvel movie out of the gate, right? And like Marvel, the X-Men was such a big hot selling point for Marvel back in the day. And the comic books kind of waned throughout its lifetime, and especially in the big comic book bust of the early 90s where the collectors all got involved and kind of ruined the market and stuff. X-Men was hurt hard by that, and they never really got it back up and running until these movies started coming out. So I still enjoy X-Men 1. I don't love it. I don't love it, but it has its place, and I respect it for that. And I remember loving it when I was younger. Like, it was a fucking cool movie when I was younger, and that's just how that's the only way I can describe it. It's not great, but it's a cool movie. Jay, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Deadpool 1.
Deadpool 1.
Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
So for this one, it's definitely all Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he saved this character. He made it his own. He was born to play him. And I thought that the movie was really fun, really refreshing, a lot of engaging action, a lot of engaging story and
when
dialogue.
X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, he lobbied hard to be Deadpool. Like he pushed for that role.
Sure, but I think he didn't know what was going to happen.
He actually pushed for a different type of characterization of it too. And the second that movie was done, he immediately started campaigning to do a Deadpool solo movie. Like as soon as that movie was done.
Well, I do remember that. Yeah.
So
because he knew what was going to happen, and it was not.
He immediately.
It was not the Deadpool.
He immediately wanted to rectify it. Yeah.
Yes, and. And I do love the end sequence for Deadpool 2 because that is funny.
You're welcome. It's good.
But no, this movie it's fun. I'm curious about how it's going to hold up.
I think it's going to hold up a lot better than Deadpool 2.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm not even going to count Deadpool 2. I don't love it as much at all. But the first one does hold up for me. I just remember the trailer and the marketing campaign. For me, this could be a big nostalgia piece that's going to hold up for me years from now.
I think the marketing
I'm going to bring back and just absolutely
I think
remember all the good memories.
I think the marketing is what really like it, and it doesn't even. And I'm not saying that's what drew me in. Like I was drawn in because it was Deadpool, and I like the character, but
and the opening credits for Christ's sake, right?
The marketing was just something that I don't think anyone's ever seen that before.
No,
right? Like,
no.
That level of viral marketing, that level of
the amount
of
and knocking it out of the park every single time. Yeah. That's like insanity.
You knew it was funny because the marketing was funny. The marketing for it was funny,
you knew that they understood what they had going on here.
And again, a budget which caused them limitations,
which was modest, $60 million for something like this.
And I think in the end, it winds up adding to the movie because you don't get bogged down in the spectacle of
and
big
they even call themselves
fight.
out on that too.
Yeah. It's
a lot of fun.
It's a very self-referential. It's very, it's very. It calls itself out for its issues. That doesn't excuse its issues, but it's still fun. My number 4, Jay, is First Class. So, again, just loved seeing McAvoy and Fassbender in those roles. And I like the way that the film ties it into history. That's one of the things that I like, because that was the big selling point. When these movies started, was like each of these films in this era, in this new X-Men era, is going to take place in a different decade. Isn't that going to be cool? We get to do different type of costumes and stuff. And to me, that sounded like a great idea 10 years ago. And then when I'm watching Dark Phoenix, and I was like, oh yeah, they haven't aged much, have they? Even though it's supposed to have been 30 years. That don't make much sense. No. I didn't think about that back then. I just thought it was cool. It's 1960s, man. The Bay of Pigs, and they tie it into history in this way that's like really fun. And it was just trying to think of just this whole idea that like this history of the X-Men existed. Like they were trying to do like this thing where the X-Men have always been there. Even though 2000 was our first look at it, it's always been there, and here's the stories that happened before. And that made me interesting until I started realizing that like none of this matches up at all. They're really going in a different direction, which is why Days of Future Past had to come out and correct it. And then they immediately ignored everything they corrected after that and completely fucked it in the ass with Apocalypse. All right, Jay, what's your number 3?
X2, X-Men United.
Oh my God, all right.
What's your name?
John?
What's your real name, John?
Pyro.
By the talent you have there, Pyro.
I can only manipulate the fire. I can't create it.
You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you different.
My number 3 is Deadpool. So
let's just get back in your viewpoints of Deadpool. And we'll just,
no.
All right.
X2. Come on, go ahead.
Okay. This is when everything really got exciting, right? Because this was a lot better than X1, and you could see it in the budget and just the understanding of what they could do with the story.
Well, I think
it was very exciting. You could see the potential of what mutants can do,
right,
into the society and how they could be a detrimental issue in the world.
I've said this before and I'll stand by this statement. One of the reasons X2 is so good is because Hugh Jackman had time to prepare for his role. His role originally was Wolverine was cast by, I think at first they wanted Russell Crowe, then they got somebody else. I honestly can't remember.
They actually like he was on set.
He was it was a French guy. I can't remember. I can't remember. I can't
believe they casted him.
He's still an actor today. It's not like he's a nobody. We just can't think of his name. And then they brought Hugh Jackman in several weeks into filming, and Hugh Jackman was only given like 2 to 3 weeks to start getting into shape.
If that, yeah.
Right. So he showed up very skinny and stuff like that, very unprepared for the role. And he did a great job embodying the role as best he could with such little preparation. By the time we get to X2 though, and Wolverine is a central focal point of that movie.
He's got the hair going.
He's got the hair.
Muscles
he's got
going.
the muscles.
He's
but
got the tank top going.
Beyond just his looks, though, this is the first time that Wolverine embodies the role. First time Hugh Jackman really takes it on and does something with it.
You see it with the action. He's got some animalistic.
It's so good.
Wolverine style stuff going on. That's brutal.
When I think of X2. I could just watch this 10-minute segment on repeat. Everything that goes on in the mansion. Yeah. From the second Strikers team comes in and like they're all quiet and stuff like that, and they're tranquilizing kids, and Wolverine comes just flying off of that balcony, and he's I was like, all the veins are popping out,
dude, it was
and
amazing.
like his just his look of rage was just so good. There's this moment where like he's hiding behind a wall, and a foot comes out, and you just hear, and it stabs it right into the guy's foot, and I was like, this is so brutal. And it was such a fan service moment for like Berserker Rage with Wolverine, but then also Colossus comes in, and the guys try to shoot him with triangle, and he armors up and stuff, and I was like, Colossus, and I was like, he's on the team now, like he's gonna be in the rest of this movie. No, he wasn't, but it was such a cool, like that entire sequence is probably the reason that movie is so well remembered.
It is. It very much is. And it's just, but even also, I think just the exciting atmosphere of, Magneto coming back out and the bad guy being released and like, fighting him again, but also trying to defend the mutant honor of the good guys. Yes, there might be some bad guys too, but trying to find a regular, that's what the house was all about. That Xavier is trying to.
So in the first movie, Ian McComb, he did great as Magneto, but we didn't get a whole lot of motivation for him as a mutant leader and what his side of being a mutant leader was. He just seemed like the dark side of the coin to Professor X's verse. But here in X2, we get a little bit more explanation for him, right? Like we knew that he was a Holocaust survivor and stuff like that, and that gives you a lot of motivation there. But that scene in the plane where like he's talking to the kids, and like he's talking to Pyro, and we see how he indoctrinates
them,
young men and young mutants and stuff like that. And I thought that was like really cool because like
it's important. It was really important.
Yeah, when I watched that, I was just like, Magneto's not wrong. He's just the amplified version of Professor X. He wants to protect these people that are like him.
Yeah.
But his way of doing it is by force, where Charles wants to integrate and stuff. It was a great like duality.
It's like politics.
It was.
One's Democrat, one's Republican.
Yeah. And Magneto's very much,
very much Republican.
Pass the praise the Lord, pass the ammunition, baby. But yeah, and I think
country family.
They kept that. God. They kept that duality alive in the X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past and stuff like that. But here was the first time we're really seeing it, And man, it was such. Obviously, I'm talking it up because it's on my list, and it's probably higher.
And it's very entertaining, and obviously it is. I'm sure.
Number 3, Deadpool, absolutely hilarious. Probably one of the best portrayals of a comic book character.
Slightly surprised is that high on your list. Slightly surprised
that Deadpool's that high.
Yeah, a little bit.
I love Deadpool, man. I thought it was like I said.
I just don't. I guess my memory of you. I remember you.
Deadpool 2. I don't like. I honestly don't like it. I flat out
maybe it's been a little too long. I just don't recall exactly our original grades on Deadpool 1, but I just okay.
No,
cool. Go with it.
It holds up. And one of the reasons Deadpool, it's why it's my number 3, is because it is one of the best portrayals of a comic book character brought to screen.
Yes.
It did it so well.
And love story, right? Nice little tie-in with that.
But like,
it's kind of fun.
It just pays so much nice reverence to the character and what he was in the comic. So often comic book characters get adapted and they get changed for the screen where they're barely recognizable to their comic book counterpart. They're just really there in name alone. And it happens a lot in the X-Men franchise where they bring up a beloved, X-Men character and they're really just there in name alone. Like I said, in Dark Phoenix, where Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, goes on this killing spree after he gets upset. That's not Nightcrawler. That doesn't work. That doesn't jive with what the character was. But Deadpool jived with what the character was supposed to be. And Ryan Reynolds is just a perfect embodiment of it. Role of a lifetime,
oh yeah.
And to see him fight so long and so hard to get it done. And I don't care how much he says it.
And he financially made a killing from it too, I'm sure.
He's the one that leaked that footage. Him and they leaked that footage on purpose.
They sort of confirmed it in the ass backwards way.
If you don't want to know if you don't know what we're talking about, back in the day there was a concept footage that was done to show to the Fox executives. The movie was not greenlit based off of this, but they knew they had something. So mysteriously on YouTube and in other places, you could find the screen test footage for Deadpool, which was pretty much the moment that he jumps off of the bridge into the car, fights the bad guys, and
like the slow-mo stuff.
And that was their proof of concept, and they shelved it after that. They didn't go anywhere with it, so that got leaked, and all of a sudden fans started crying for it, and lo and behold, 2 years later the movie was made. So I respect that level of like fight to get a movie made and then making it pay off too. Like if they fought for it to be made and it was awful and it was such a redemptive
because I think he knew the potential of that character and he just wanted redemption as well.
He saw it. Studio heads
X-Men
didn't
Origins,
back when X-Men Origins Wolverine came out. No one saw it. Wisecracking guy, all right, we'll get Ryan Reynolds to play him. Done. And like there was so much more there, and he knew that there was. All right, Jay, you're number 2.
X-Men Days of Future Past.
Hey, what's going on?
Gwen,
How are you?
get dressed.
Hey, I don't know what's going on.
What's going on is you're supposed to be guarding the boss's daughter, not screwing her.
Oh, I didn't sleep with her.
No.
No. I mean, yes, I slept with her many times, but...
Jimmy!
That wasn't me. That was the old me. I just got here like 20 seconds ago.
Really?
Yeah.
And what happened to your clothes?
Would you believe me if I told you I was sent here from the future?
This one's not on my list.
Okay. So,
although
I know some people love this, some people don't like it
not on my list
much per se. But,
although I will say it is Fassbender's best performance in the series.
And it's Singer back.
Yeah, the story just doesn't... I don't think it holds up. I find a lot of problems, especially with the future story, mixing it in with the original series. I have a lot of problems. I have a lot of problems with Kitty Pryde mysteriously being able. She used to just walk through walls. Now she can walk people through the past. It does to me. It doesn't jive with me. There's not.
I guess I'm not that nerdy into the world where stuff like that bothered me.
It comes up to what I'm saying with superhero films, where powers have to have expectations and limitations. If I don't have an expectation expectation or a limitation for the powers, then you can make the script do whatever you want it to do. And that's exactly what they did with Ellen Page's Kitty Pryde, where she could send him into the past because the script called for somehow him getting to the past.
Yeah, and I loved that exciting aspect of it, like, because you just didn't think it was going to get pulled off. And for me, it pulled it off. I mean, it really did. And I thought the action was really ambitious, ballsy, still just epically refreshing.
Yeah.
And grander in a scope that I don't think we saw yet on screen with these guys yet.
And Peter Dinklage, good bad guy.
Yeah.
Great bad
of course.
Guy.
And again, just more growth in development with the first class generation of characters.
It didn't bother you that Professor X was like a junkie in it and stuff like that? Like that didn't seem
because
out of character for him? Like,
well, they addressed that. I mean, I was like, there people like that. I mean, he was a kid. I mean, he wasn't a junkie. He was just an alcoholic, kind of wisecracking asshole. It's really what it was. I mean,
I did like how they tied it together and made Patrick Stewart like kind of like talk to his past self and like get him out of that. I did like that. I liked that moment of them meeting.
I liked all that stuff. That I fed into that. It was emotional for me. Like I got into this guy because it almost was hopeful for people who may be struggling through something like that can crawl out of it and have a greater purpose.
I didn't hate the movie to start. Like it's not like the first time I saw Days of Future Past that came out and I was like, no, I didn't like it that much. I actually really liked it a lot. It's subsequent viewings where I found the little problems with continuity and these little things that like, and I've said it before, that stuff wears me down. Like when it's when
maybe I just didn't see it
when I can't buy it. I can't continue to go with it. Like my first viewing, I have fun with it, and then when I start seeing plot holes and problems and stuff, I start focusing on them, and it bothers me. And I'm a continuity guy, I'm a story guy. So,
I know.
But that's why it's not on my list. But it definitely it has the best performances in the entire series. I got to say.
And you know me, I can be very soft on the movie when it's got some really good performances to hold it all
Jennifer
together.
Lawrence was her best.
And she was. That was her best.
Fassbender was the best in this. McAvoy did the best in this. It wasn't the best Wolverine. It was very much injecting him.
He had a different kind of role, for sure in this.
It was injecting him into the first class.
I kind of let it slide because they sort of addressed it in the movie. He had to play a role, and it was an important role. He had to contain himself and restrain himself, and but for me,
something I read, and
there was something so epically grand about it and ambitious, and that worked for me.
Something I read, and I don't know whether it's true or not. One of the things that Hugh Jackman kind of like pushed for in the script was for Wolverine to continue being afraid of flying. In X-Men 1, he's afraid to get in the X-Jet. In X-Men Origins Wolverine, he's very jittery,
it's a nice little comic relief, right?
of the plane. And then he's not like in that situation until he gets to this movie. And in Wolverine, in the one in Japan, directed by James Mangold, he was afraid of flying. So like it's something that Hugh Jackman has like pushed for in there, that like Wolverine is this guy who is like fearless, right? Like nothing can hurt him. So why would he be afraid of anything? But for Hugh Jackman, just giving him this one thing for him to fear humanizes him in a way that people can relate to. And it's something that apparently Hugh Jackman pushed for. I read that. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's something that I read. All right, Jay, my number 2, X2. I think we talked that one enough. There's a lot to love there. The mansion scene is just fucking brilliant. And I can watch. I just watched that movie. When I watched everything over again, I watched X2, and it's the only time watching it that I didn't have like my phone in my hand, like doing other stuff. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna watch all of X2. It's so good. All right, Jay, we're up to your number 1, man. What's your number 1?
It's Logan, man.
It's my number 1 too.
Yeah,
Take your friends and run. They'll keep coming. Yes, you don't have to fight anymore. Go. Don't be what they made you.
the best job they've done. It's the best send off they've done. It's just
everything movie. Really just finding its character's grounded footing, like really understanding a character. I mean, it's different sides of a scope with Deadpool and Logan, but they equally nailed the character perfectly.
They did,
and they really had a great story, a great send off, a nice couple surprises tied in within the movie, and the action was brutal. You know, it was just savage, and it was a kind of a country, like Western-esque kind of movie that had a lot of
I think it's the story
gritty elements to it. It was
it's a story James Mangold has always wanted to tell with the character. Once, you know, I think he wanted to.
Well, he wanted redemption from the Wolverine getting slaughtered in the final act.
I don't think the Wolverine was terrible, right? Like that.
Well, I didn't until it did.
Right.
Get terrible.
The whole
ending,
the whole robot on his heart thing was a problem.
It's all,
I definitely think that like he had something completely different in mind, and the studio got involved and stuff like that. And with this send off, you know, I really feel like him and Jackman worked so well together that, you know, and Jackman at that point was the only person who could portray Wolverine. I really feel like they tag teamed the studio and were just like, if it's not this way, then we don't want it. We don't want to do it, and they did it their way.
Well, and they just put their power, I think, all into the studio. And like, look,
like if Mangold walked
something
away,
needs to change. Something needs to happen. And
it was this situation where if Mangold walked away, Jackman walked away, and if Jackman didn't like the script, you know, Mangold was going to change it.
And he can just say like, I refuse to keep on portraying, you know, Wolverine.
It's the only X-Men movie, like, and I, you know, I'm a big emotional person. Like, I get choked up at things. It's the only X-Men movie that's ever made me cry. It's the only one that ever got me choked up. It's the only one that made me feel
a lot of aspects with the daughter that kind of role.
But not only that, I think it was just like his realization that just like it.
He humanized him in a lot of ways.
It's time, and I think a lot of Jackman, like his real life, just coming to an end with this role, I think a lot of that was put into this movie. I think like
even with just being such a jacked up fit guy, even like he needed to express himself in different ways, and he vastly did. He went the complete opposite. You know, he's been leaning out, he's been doing a lot of Broadway stuff, a lot of different kind of artistic sensibility things,
because he was tired of grunting and screaming and running through the room. Have you ever seen, like, one of my favorite things is Hugh Jackman doing pickup sound for X-Men movies, where
that was great,
where he's in a sound booth and like he does it for Logan.
That's only one take, Dave.
Yeah, it's only one.
You know, they're doing so many of those.
The one
takes.
I saw was for Logan. It's the moment where he's running through the woods and he's in a booth and like he is legit running in place as hard as he can, and he's going and he's like doing all these facial expressions, and he's running at the same time, and he's swinging his arms while he's doing it. I was like, dude, this dude is just in it when he's in it. Like when he's playing Logan, he's in it. And like I think, like, you know, Logan, just as a movie, just the way it opens up, just the way it starts, and the very humanization of this character who is very beyond human, right? Like, because he can heal from anything. He's gonna live. He's going to live a lot longer, if it wasn't for the disease that he winds up contracting because of the adamantium in his body. If he never had that, he wouldn't be aging.
Yeah.
And it's this story of like middle age and, you know,
acceptance, moving on, death,
but
love,
also the story between him and Patrick Stewart,
family,
right? Like,
absolutely. That was a huge part. And, you know, just the history of that and the grief. And the guilt, you know, there's so much built up,
and how sad it is for Patrick Stewart that all these kids you raised at the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, and the person who's taking care of you in the end is the asshole who slugs beer, chomps on cigarettes, calls you a bub, and is just a complete asshole to you. That's the one that's going to take care of you in your golden years, Professor X. It's that one. And
to, spoiler alert, think that he killed him.
Yeah. But that was there was so much
that was devastating
in that movie that, like, it was just such a perfect send off to him. It was just everything was an emotional moment. Like everything, you know, and even in the little bits of humor, they were just thrown in there as moments to break up this very down to earth, very sad story. You know, like he didn't go out taking on Magneto. He didn't go out taking on Apocalypse. He didn't go out taking on like some massive big bad. You know, he went off protecting a bunch of kids against machine guns in the woods, right? Like he didn't go off
and a younger prototype of himself.
Right. He went off in this very human way, you know, in a sense, and it was such a perfect send off, and
it was
such a love letter to westerns like Shane, you know, like they always talk about, like that was the big, that was a big thing that was.
And I always loved the filming. His grave with the X.
Yeah, it was a nice touch.
It was a nice little touch.
It was a nice touch, and it made you want X-23 in the future, and now that's up in the air. So far.
You know, he has a beautiful spot. I think where you can lay to rest. He always loved, you know, the mountains, and you know,
should have got him. Should have just taken him back to Canada.
It looked like Canada, actually.
I remember that moment in X-Men Origins Wolverine where Stryker's just like, "Your country needs you, son. I'm Canadian." So that does it for me and Jay's top 5. Those are our favorite X-Men films. I know some people thought I would probably have Days of Future Past on my list, but like I said, subsequent viewings, man, have brought me down on that movie. It's not, I don't hate it by any stretch of the means. Believe me, it is number 6 on my list for sure. And I know I've said this before, and
mine will probably be X1. So we're pretty close.
I still defend X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't defend it saying it's a good movie.
I've talked about that. I haven't on the show before.
There's moments where, like, in it, you're like, this is the movie that it should have been the whole time. And then there's so many moments where you're like, that's why this movie sucks. It's 20% good, 80% shit. And, like, you wish that 20% could just take up so much more of the screen time. Like, I feel like Gavin Hood, who's a good director, had a good story in there somewhere, and somehow it just got chopped to bits.
That's called studio shit.
It was definitely
100% a studio film.
Definitely studio shit, and that's like, it's, you know,
you can see it written all over the marketing.
The fall of Fox was kind of like long time coming because like of the studio involvement and everything like that. You know, they hadn't had a major hit in like years.
Yeah,
and they were selling off their properties and stuff. It was just like and then
the desperation.
And then you think of what's going on over on their other big franchises that they have with Die Hard. That's a franchise of theirs. You know, they tried to keep it going. It was waning. Yeah. What else did they have? Predator. Definitely a waning franchise.
Right. But like, what's so sad is like you're screwing up potential for spin-offs of other kind of sequels, like Gambit. You know, that was, you know, supposed to be a big spin-off.
So happy it's not happening. I was like, when they were finally like, it's dead, I was like, it's the best news.
And Deadpool, obviously, but Reynolds saved that. But it was one of those things where this movie could have potentially spun off if it was good.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of different kind of stuff.
Yeah. Along
with all those other franchises that they had, you know?
But the movie sucked.
Sad.
Bombed. It wasn't good. And they gave him CGI claws, and it was terrible. So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Please, if you're enjoying the podcast, head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. That's how we grow on the old Apple Podcasts app and how people find us. That is the main place that, to this day, people still listen to podcasts, which makes me really sad. There's a lot of options for listening to podcasts out there. Don't pigeonhole yourself by just listening to people on iTunes. But if you have an iPhone, if that's how you listen, please leave us a 5-star review. You have no idea how much that helps out.
Very much appreciated.
And then, of course, we also have a sponsor. Our sponsor is Blowfish. So if you would like to cure your hangovers for good, make sure you head over to forhangovers.com. Use the promo code SMBFish. Get your 15% off and end the scourge of hangovers for good. We are, of course, part of a network. We're part of the Podfix Network. You can head over to podfixnetwork.com and you can check out all the great shows that are part of the Podfix Network on there. You can also click on the menu, go to the movie cocktails tab, and you can see a bunch of our recipes for movie cocktails over there. Happy birthday to our good friend Thomas Iannucci. He does the Trailer Park music for us. We didn't have any Trailer Park breakdowns this week, but the biggest birthday present you could ever give Thomas Iannucci is you could head over to his Spotify, check out his music, drop him a line on Twitter, Thomas_Iannucci on there, and let him know that you appreciate his music. Just give it a listen. I promise you're going to love it. I love it. He just had a new single drop. He had a new music video drop on YouTube. So give him a look, give him a listen. He's amazing. He's a fantastic artist and a good friend of our show. So happy birthday, Thomas. Wishing you the best for the next year. And I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.